Hello my dears! Hi, my name is Johnny and today we are taking a look at the classic vibe 60s jazz bass from Squier. Hello and welcome back to the official Squier review channel. Jokes aside, we have looked at a lot of Squiers recently and there's more to come. If you are enjoying all of the different Squier content and basses that are out there at the minute, then just leave a like on this video. And maybe subscribe. Not long ago, we looked at the 70s jazz bass. Now we're going back a decade. This one is of course inspired by jazz basses from the 60s, similar specs to the basses that are of that era. Link in the description, you can read up all of the different specs. I'm just going to tell you what I think. Now these basses retail between 320 to 350 pounds. They seem to really fluctuate and actually hold their value really well in the used market. Starting at the top, we have this gorgeous tinted headstock. Really adds to that vintage vibe. And the machine heads on here are the same as the 70s one, the same as the 60s P bass. They're fine. I'd say they're fine. They're not amazing. They hold the tuning fine. They don't feel bad. Nothing really to write home to mother about. Then, same story again. You've got a glossy, sticky back of the neck. Always say about these, not for me. Get a bit of sandpaper, whip that bad boy off, and you've got a smooth as a baby's bum. You can just glide your hands along. I know that sounds horrible as it was coming out of my mouth. So talking about the neck, the nut width and the shape of the neck and the fretboard radius, they're all identical to the 70s jazz bass. Now, when I first was feeling it, I thought, oh yeah, this kind of feels a bit fatter. And I liked that. I kind of preferred the way it felt. Maybe that was just me assuming that. So just like the 60s precision bass, we've got an Indian laurel fretboard, which, yeah, gets dry over time. I've actually been lent this bass by my friend James. Thank you so much, James. You're a bloody legend. And it had some old strings on it, and the fretboard was feeling a bit dry. Just treated it with some lemon oil, much better. Thing to take into consideration with these more affordable woods is that you are going to have to treat them a bit more. Now, if you're looking at this as your first bass or your second bass or just another bass, and that's a kind of thing that's putting you off, don't let that put you off. I don't have it around me now, but I'll put a link in the description to the lemon oil that I've been using. I think it works a treat. I got an old t-shirt, cut the sleeves off, and I just dab a bit on there and do like a circular motion going across the fretboard. And it really helps to hydrate that wood, darken it a little bit. It's quite obvious when it's looking dry. It just looks a bit like faded almost. Getting a bit of lemon oil on there really helps to hydrate that fretboard. And we should all aim to stay hydrated too. So one thing that I think is a bit not great about this bass is there are some little like lumps on there, and I can't make out what it is, and I can't like scratch them off. I don't notice them when playing in the slightest, and they're all like above the 12th fret, so I'm not playing up there. It doesn't really bother me personally, but it looks like some little errors that have slipped through the cracks on quality control. So the fret job on this, I would say, is about the same as the 70s jazz bass. It's absolutely fine, but if you're being really picky, you can feel it sprouting a little bit when you get higher up. Out of all of the classic vibe basses I've had on this channel now, the 60s precision bass by far had the best fret job, I think. And I'd say this one is probably a tiny bit better than the 70s one, but certainly nothing that I think is, standard across these basses. I think it's very much with these mass-produced Indonesian basses, which I love. I love affordable basses, but that's just some of the quirks that, you might get a lemon in that regard that's really bad, or you might get one that's absolutely fine. That's kind of the game that you play with these more affordable models. So the body. I love Daphne Blue. On this base in particular, the original pickguard has been swapped out for a cream one. And I think this is fixing a mistake from Squier. I don't know why they didn't do this stock. I absolutely love it. Don't get me wrong, I like it with the taut one on there as well. It looks amazing. But I am a sucker for this look in particular. So by doing this, we've fixed Squier's mistake, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is how you make a clickbaity thumbnail. So the bridge is a big talking point about this base. No, it's not really. It's just a vintage style bridge. Joking aside, all of these vintage style bridges I think are generally of a pretty high quality. I never have any issues with them, but there's not particularly much to talk about. So we'll move on. So a few little niggles and things that, you know, I wish they kind of done a bit differently, but overall, still fantastic, still great value. So now I've got the windows open because it's so hot and there's a fly buzzing around me now. Oh, there it is. That's not going to be distracting at all. Now let's take a listen to what this bass sounds like with these Alnico pickups designed by Squier. Annoyingly, I don't have the 70s jazz bass anymore to compare this to, but I'm going to be using exactly the same amp settings, and I've actually bought the same strings, which are the Ernie Ball 105 to 50s. So for this, we'll be using the Line 6 HX Stomp, as always, using the Gallion-Kruger head straight into the Ampeg SVT 810. So let me know in a comment down below what you think about the sound of this bass. When going back and comparing it to the sound of the 70s jazz bass, I prefer the 60s one. And I kind of feel like it's the same for the P bass, although I've not actually tried the 70s P bass. When I listen to comparisons online, I do feel like I prefer the 60s, I prefer the slightly warmer vintagey sound, and then I can kind of add treble where I want to. Whereas with the 70s ones, when you're getting maple necks and slightly almost brighter pickups, it sounds a bit, it doesn't sound as full, I don't think. But if you disagree, that's fine. This is all just opinion, and that's why you're here. So my favourite sound of this is probably your classic jazz bass sound, both pickups on full with the tone pot wide open. However, for the first time, this might be ever, I'm not sure, I am actually really enjoying the sound of the bridge pickup by itself. I don't normally like bridge single coils by themselves. There's a motorbike outside being very loud. I don't normally like single coil bridge pickups by themselves, but actually, I think this one sounds really, really good. With the tone up, with the tone off, it sounds really fat, I think. Now, of course, some differences between the 60s and 70s style basses is that bridge pickup on a 60s bass is further away from the bridge compared to the 70s. And that explains why I enjoy it more, because it's a bit fatter sounding, you know, the flies back, you get this warmer mid-range growl, which I really, really enjoy. So the different positioning of that bridge pickup combined with the different woods of the fretboard, to me, overall, I think I prefer the sound of the 60s. This isn't like a comparison video, but I couldn't not mention it, I think. So there we have it. As usual, just great value for money from Squier as always. Similar kind of quality control, dodgy bits going on there, but doesn't degrade the overall value for money. I think this is a great bass and I would recommend it. So before we finish off, I'm just going to recommend something here. I have started a bass guitar podcast called In the Pocket. I'll leave a link in the description so you can go and check that out on the playlist, up in the cards, etc. Go and check it out, let me know what you think, and I'll leave it at that. Once again, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.